Welcome to the podcast where together, every Monday, we explore hospitality in its very broadest sense. From culture and cooking, cocktails and coffee, nutrition and farming, politics and animal welfare, organic and sustainability, family and business, entrepreneurship, and much, much more. Come and learn with me, Mark Cribb, about where our food and our drink comes from, and the businesses and, more importantly, the human beings that thrive on where we decide to spend our time and our money. Sign up to our weekly newsletter at humansofhospitality.co.uk and hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. Welcome to this week's podcast, the first post Rishi's budget, and not as good as we'd maybe like, but certainly better than it could have been. VAT, rates, furlough, duty, all helpful but not perfect. Still, nothing on rent that I've seen. But we tentatively hurtle towards a reopening date, and I hope your plans are coming on well, whether that be opening a venue or simply looking forward to enjoying a beer with a mate. Now, this week's episode was a wonderful treat for me. Unusually, we recorded this one with my golden retriever Jasper whilst giving him a walk around a 130-acre country estate. But more importantly, I was joined by Darren Venables, the estate manager at the Chewton Glen Hotel down in the New Forest in Hampshire. Darren has been working at the Chewton Glen for over 30 years, so really has seen a huge amount of change. And as far as the grounds are concerned, he has curated much of that change himself. And our wide-ranging conversation typifies the reason for setting up this podcast, to shine a spotlight on what happens behind the scenes of hospitality, so much that the public never get to hear about, or even imagine is fundamentally supported by the hospitality trade. Developing an orchard of 250 of the rarest trees in the country perhaps, or breeding your own queen bees, or surveying wildlife on an annual basis, or attracting a wider species of birds into a habitat for the first time in decades, to growing food for a cookery school, to planting Christmas trees, and so much more. I just hope that conversations like these open your mind as to how much awesomeness the independent hospitality sector is responsible for. And remember, where you decide to spend your cash in supporting these genuinely small and hospitable businesses really makes a difference to the type of world we are all going to live in. Less dominated by the bean counter international chains and more diverse and richer for humanity and the environment. And I know I say this every week, but it seems not all of you have done it yet, and that's please pick up the device you're listening on, hit subscribe and rate and review the podcast. You click on 5 stars, say something nice, and the robots pick it up and show it to a few more people. And then more people listen, and then I can attract more guests, and the great circle of happiness continues. And if you won't do it for me, do it for Jasper, who really would appreciate another lovely stroll around a closed country estate. Thanks, and let's get over and meet Darren. Darren Venables, estate manager of the Chewton Glen Hotel. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Hugely appreciated, and a bit of an unusual one for me because we're actually out, we're roving about. Can you just explain where in the world are we, Darren?
So we're in the kitchen garden of Chewton Glen. This is situated right in the middle of the estate. So we have a 135-acre estate here. We have everything from a kitchen garden to a plant nursery. We have 2 orchards. We have a golf course. We have sort of quite informal areas where we keep sheep and things. We have more formal gardens around the hotel. Most of the rooms have balconies on there with planting on. And then we obviously have our tree houses. So what we'll do is we'll start the tour here, and then we'll walk around and give you a bit of an insight as to everything. As we go around. Great.
So we're going to get an actual walking tour. So apologies to people if there's a little bit of wind and a little bit of background noise. But I think we should deserve some credit because it's like about, what is it? Is it 0 degrees?
It's very cold. Even the dog's looking cold.
Yeah, Jasper the dog is with us. I think it was -4 last night, and it's something like 0 degrees. So we'll keep walking as we go. So as we walk down, so you've been here getting on towards or sort of 30 years with a gap. Has it changed a lot in that time? Or?
It's changed an awful lot. Yeah, I came here on the 26th of June 1989 as an apprentice, and at the time we were a little 35 bedroom country house hotel just with a golf course. We didn't own half the land that we have now. And then gradually we started sort of buying up land. We built the spa, we built the croquet wing, we built the tree houses, the cookery school. And what's nice is I've been involved in all of those projects.
Yeah.
So
must be amazing to have the sort of custodianship for that long a period of time, I suppose, and see it develop. We've got we're walking past a sheep, and the dog is sort of avoiding it actually, which is good.
So this is
awesome.
These are our coloured Rylands.
Right.
So we started having the sheep last year. We started bringing them on site, and the idea is we do sheep walking for our guests. So we've got 25 lambs due over the next few weeks. And the idea is that the older sheep, we do sheep walking with them, with the guests. So like now where we're walking the dog, we just take a sheep instead.
So as a guest you can borrow a sheep?
We can borrow a sheep. We did 250 sheep walking sessions in 4 months last year.
Who gets the most benefit, the human or the sheep? who's that aimed at?
It's very therapeutic, so humans love it. So
that's awesome. Where did that idea come from then? I've not heard of sheep. I actually did the llama walking once myself, and that was weird. But I've not heard of sheep walking.
So what it was during the first lockdown. I bumped into Jane Wilder, who does all our events here, and we just basically said, what events can we do once we were open again? And we were trying to go through, because so many of the events we now can't do because of social distancing. And I just made a half-hearted comment about how I've always wanted to keep sheep at Chewton Glen, and she said, my sister-in-law keeps sheep. So the rest is history. So the sheep are here now, and then they're gradually expanding. So we'll gradually expand our flock of sheep over the next few years.
I don't know why this has popped into my head then, but I've got to ask, are they sort of expanding of their own will, or are you breeding them? Or do they just get on with it? Are they like rabbits? I don't know.
No, they're expanding on their own free will. We have so the ram that we have here, he's a Dorset. He's a prize-winning ram, and so these are all pedigree sheep as well. So these are all coloured Rylands. So they're all pedigree sheep. So we know exactly who's been born to what. So we've got twins due tomorrow, and then we've got a single sheep due on Saturday.
Hang on. Can you be that exact that they're due tomorrow?
Angie, who looks after the sheep for us, she's very exact with everything. Yeah.
Wow.
So
I need to meet Angie. How does she know?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to know.
No,
I
you
don't want to put
want
my
to know.
hand anywhere near that.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll come this way.
So what are some of the over that sort of 30-year period? What are some of the bigger projects that you've been?
I think the
with?
biggest one was the tree houses, because at the tree houses at the same time we did the kitchen garden. We also built a new maintenance complex for us and our maintenance department, and so I think that was definitely the biggest project.
Well, we'll chat a bit about those when we get to them.
Yeah.
So we're going to be electrocuted by a fence.
So what we'll do, Mark, is we'll go round the other way because the fence is here. But we're sat in the middle of our orchards at the moment. So this area here is our first orchard. So this is 200 trees. So I had a landscape architect called Anne Soderberg design this for me, and she used to be a chef, and so she basically put everything in groups of 4s and 6s. So it's just quite a basic orchard: apples, pears, and plums, and that sort of thing, and just things just to see if we would use it. And then subsequent to that, I then met a lady called Jennifer Williams, who just literally knocked on my office door one day and asked if she could pick some elderflower from the boundary. And I sort of said, why you like it? And she explained she made jams and jellies and syrups and things. So the relationship developed, and she now goes on to make all our jams, jellies, syrups for the hotel with anything she can find. And so when the hotel was 50 years old, I approached Andrew Stemridge and asked if we could do a legacy project. And he said, yeah, that would be amazing. So we planted the heritage orchard behind. So the fruit trees you can see behind are 250 of the rarest fruit trees that have ever been, that are around in Dorset, Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. So there's apples, pears, plums in there. There's medlars, damsons, tayberries, chokeberries, you name it. They're all there. There's only 1s and 2s of everything, but they're all extremely rare trees. Wow. So I had a chap called Andrew Howard who took me quite a bit of finding, but he specialises in really rare fruit trees, and he helped me put the collection together. It took a year to source everything, and then they all had to be grafted onto modern root stocks and grown on. And so so what's nice is we now have a really, really rare collection of fruit trees.
And what was the motivation for doing that then? Specifically around, the rare stuff.
I think what it was is everyone was doing heritage orchards, but I wanted to do like the most significant collection around, because
Right.
you always want to be better than everyone
My
else.
orchard's better than your orchard.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I'm going to have a word with Raymond. He's got quite a nice orchard.
yeah, his orchard's fabulous, but
Yours is better.
well, no, ours is unique to Hampshire and Dorset and the Isle of Wight, so it's unique to this area. So. It isn't on the same scale as Raymond Blanc, and I wouldn't even pretend it would be.
Oh, it's too late, Darren. I'm going to just put the clip in.
Yeah, tell him. But the thing is, for this area, it is I think the most significant collection of fruit trees for this area, which is really good.
And they really benefit, this sort of cross-pollination. They need each other, don't
Absolutely.
they? To kind of, to do their best. How
Yeah.
does that work?
Well, in the foreground, you'll see some of our beehives there. So we have 70 beehives on the estate. So, which we keep. Again, a friend of mine, Rob, keeps 70 beehives here, produces all our own honey for the hotel and honeycomb, and we're actually going to start doing beekeeping classes in the summer as well once we open again.
Can you walk your own bee?
Yeah, you need a small lead.
Maybe you could get a group of bees.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's really good because, again, it all ties in with this trying to give back and trying to create an ecosystem. I think where all this stems from is, my great-grandfather was a gardener, and, I've heard stories of how he gardened, and, they had to be self-sufficient with everything. And I think it's really important to try and become like that again. So hence the reason for trying to do all these things and use every bit of the land.
Yeah,
So
I love it. And what I really love about it, this podcast is called The Humans of Hospitality, because people have got no idea, what goes on behind the scenes.
Absolutely,
And
no.
without this hotel here, none of this would be happening. And really, it's kind of what's more important, isn't it? You're a custodian, you're looking after the land, and the hotel is facilitating that. And not everything you do, I imagine, comes directly from what benefits the customer. It
No,
must also
absolutely.
be what benefits the land. doesn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing is, we have full backing of the owners to do that. And Andrew Stembridge is fully on board with everything that we do. And the nice thing is, I generally just say to him, look, I'd like to do this, and he just says, yeah, carry on. So it's really
great.
nice. Yeah, so it's nice to have someone who sort of shares your beliefs as well.
Amazing. Okay, great. Where are we heading?
Right, so let's go and head over to our plant nursery.
Okay, Darren, where are we now?
So we're on our plant nursery now, and again, this is very much a sort of a back of house area, but we actively encourage guests to walk around and come and see what we're growing and how we're growing it, and we do garden tours through here. And honestly, it's not out of the question that we get guests come and joining in if we're planting plants and helping us. So
Yeah, amazing.
it's
You
a
really
nice-
do get the guests involved. don't
yeah,
you?
honestly,
Yeah. I would love that. I'm not sure how my wife would feel if I came and I was off walking sheep and helping with the gardening. It would be busman's holiday, but I'd be very happy.
So just through the hedge there, you can see some piles of what looks like Christmas trees.
Yeah.
So they're actually they are Christmas trees chopped up, and they create like a habitat for sort of ground nesting birds and robins. And what we also do is we work with local hedgehog charities who, when they get a glut of hedgehogs and they need some released, they bring them here, and we put like little houses in them. And they release the hedgehogs in there, and we put food and things out for them as well.
I was only thinking recently that
Yeah.
you don't really see hedgehogs much anymore, and I
No,
don't know why it was
absolutely.
in my head. But is it? Are they disappearing? Or?
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely in decline, and obviously we're keen here to encourage them because it helps with our slug control. So it does a job for us. So we're very, very keen on it. So we work with various vets and things, and they know whenever they get them to bring them to us, which is really good.
That's
So
great, isn't it?
that's
You used to get them in your gardens and stuff. I remember as a kid. That doesn't happen much
it
anymore?
sadly
Certainly not
doesn't.
in the
No, I
town.
mean we see them here. We do get them here, but nowhere near as much as we used to. So what's nice is you do still see them. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through our polytunnels now, and I'll explain what we
Perfect.
normally grow in them.
Can I just ask, just before we do, sorry, just because
Yeah.
you just mentioned Christmas, so you do a huge amount around Christmas.
We
don't you?
do.
And I saw this year, I was seeing the old trees, and funny enough, it was one of my questions, because my tree has just been sort of lobbed out of my lounge doors, and it's just sat in the garden, what to do with it. So, but what's, growing. So you gave everybody who came this year, you gave them a mini tree.
That's
didn't you,
right,
to
yeah.
plant in their own garden. I didn't know that was possible. Is it?
Yeah.
How long does it take to grow a Christmas tree?
So what we do is when we buy the Christmas trees in, we give each guest a Christmas tree about sort of 18 inches high, and it's in a pot, and we decorate it up, and we put it in their room, and then they can either plant the tree, take it to their home and plant in their own garden,
Right.
or they can leave it here and we'll plant it for them.
Oh, really?
So some years we plant sort of 20 or 30, other years we might end up with more. This year, sadly, obviously, where we were basically
pre-ordered
shut, we've got a full 70 to plant. So,
Blimey. And then if you plant them, how long do they take to grow to any sort of...
Quite a while. They grow about sort of between 12 and 18 inches a year.
Okay.
So, and then the nice thing is, because we invariably end up needing extra trees at Christmas, no matter how much you plan, someone will arrive on Christmas Eve for a tree. It always gives us a few spares if we need it. Okay. So,
and those ones you keep for customers, do you label them? Do you know whose were whose?
No, sorry, not that detailed.
I was just thinking, wouldn't it be nice if you came back 10 years later and went, my God, it's taller than me now. But,
no, sadly not that detailed.
Okay.
So the polytunnel we're in now, so the plan in here this year is we want to grow some giant pumpkins. It has our bedding plants as they're coming through the system for the first part of spring. And then we're going to try and grow some giant pumpkins in here this year. We want on pallets, so we want to try and get some really big pumpkins.
Wow.
So we do lots of gourds and we do lots of squashes and things for an autumn display, but we figure a really big pumpkin this year will be...
okay, and this is for display purposes more than for culinary purposes?
Absolutely, yeah. We're all about display here. I just love doing displays of anything. So
amazing. I think I saw a photo of, like, was it maybe hundreds of pumpkins in your
That's right, yeah.
It did look amazing.
Yeah, it's quite a few this year. So we're going to come through here.
Darren's doing very well at managing my dog whilst we're on this walk as well, who's trying to pull his arm off. Do you need me to close that, Darren?
No, it's all right. Just leave it.
So I was going to say, it's hard to keep it warm, is it?
The dog seems to know the route, which is worrying me.
Yeah.
So this is our tomato house. So we normally have about 250 tomato plants. We grow 6 different varieties, everything from really big sort of beefsteak heritage tomatoes down to the little tiny tomatillos. And the idea is, again, because they're big and they sort of go right up to the ceiling, guests can walk right through them and, pick the tomatoes, help themselves. Wow. So these all go up to the cookery school and then they're used in the cookery classes. At the very end, we have lemon verbena and we also grow cucamelons. We've done cucamelons for about 4 or 5 years. We started growing them as bar snacks. We wanted something different.
Right.
So we put little bowls of cucamelons on the bar.
What are they? They're just small...
Just like they're a cross between a melon and a cucumber.
Clues in the name, eh?
Yeah, little.
That's a real thing. I just thought you were making it up.
No.
Melon.
Yeah, so they're like a little tiny, about twice the size of a grape.
Right.
So this is our tomato house, and then what we'll do is we'll go through into the big polytunnel next door, where we grow the majority of our plants. So if you follow me,
and then so you work with Adam's the head chef, and who is it who runs the cookery school?
So we at the cookery school. So it's obviously everything comes from Adam Summers, who's James Martin's chef.
Yep.
And then in the main kitchens, obviously, it's Luke.
That's right. Sorry, wrong way around.
No, that's fine. I tend to concentrate, to be fair. We work most for the cookery school chef, so it's whoever does the cookery school classes.
Right.
It's much easier for us to feed produce into the cookery school than it is to the restaurant, because the beauty of a cookery school is they will always find a use for any produce you take to them.
Right, okay, yeah.
So this is our biggest tunnel, so 6 big growing benches, and this particular bench is all heated, so as you can see we've got our sweet peas. So at the moment it goes a little bit milder. These will all be planted out.
Yeah,
so
I've regular listeners will know that my lockdown 1 project was building myself a little greenhouse and actually getting into a bit of gardening. And funny enough, about 2 weeks ago I planted not as many as that, but maybe 60 sweet peas. Yeah. Yours are well ahead of mine. They're something you can plant pretty early.
So we plant these in October, November. So these are planted well before Christmas. Okay. The beauty being a heated bench is they come up. Right. To be fair, the germination this year hasn't been as good as it normally is, but because we grow en masse the whole time, we can just take what we need. But like I say, we'll do 2 or 3 batches this year because we want to do sweet peas in every single bed. The idea is they create such an impact that regular guests now come and ask for them. So we want to, rather than just have an aisle of them, we want on every bed we're going to do a sweet pea display. So they'll end up
on when you say every bed, that's not every room. That's literally on the bed.
Apologies. Yeah, every bed in the kitchen garden. So all 16 beds, either end.
I'm thinking as a hotelier, that's going to be surely your linen department get a bit annoyed.
Yeah. Yeah. So every growing bed in the kitchen garden will have a big sweet pea display, and we do, rather than do a traditional wigwam, we actually put the canes in vertically. So that we make a very open display of sweet peas. So they'll be planted, and then when they're gone, then we'll start doing our salad crops for the cookery school. So again, we normally grow sort of things like mustards and lettuces and basils and rocket and just generally, we don't grow them as a microherb. We grow them somewhere between a microherb and a sort of a salad. So we grow them just slightly bigger, and then the idea is we start them in here. We take them up to the greenhouse at the cookery school, and then they can just help themselves to them. As part of the cookery classes, they'll come out and they'll harvest their own micro veg, take it in and cook it and put it in the dishes.
Nice. Perfect.
In the next couple of weeks, we've also got bedding plants arriving. So there's 12,000 bedding plants arriving in 2 weeks' time. So for the summer, so they'll all need planting.
12,000, oh my goodness. All done by hand.
Well, we had 1,000 arrive this morning, which are some slightly hardier shrubs. Some slightly hardier perennials, which are going to go for the coach houses. But because it's so cold, we've put those up in a heated greenhouse this morning, but we'll see those in a minute.
You've had a much busier start to the day. It's only 10 o'clock. I'm feeling slightly guilty because you did tell me earlier that we'll come to the impact of the pandemic, but a lot of your team are furloughed at the moment.
Yeah.
How do you plant 12,000 plants without your team?
The one beauty is with the flexi furloughs, we'll have to get some back for a couple of weeks, come and give us a hand. And then by then, truthfully, hopefully we'll have more of an indication of when we're open anyway. And we're going to need to get people back for probably 4 weeks before we open, just to get us up together anyway. Okay. It's at the moment we're just ticking over, but you'll see, here we've got some daffodils, which will form a display in a couple of weeks, and then what looks like dead sticks there, that's actually our dahlia crops. So the idea is we want to grow a massive amount of cut flowers in the kitchen garden this year. So the dahlias will form part of that. So that's what the dead sticks are. They look quite impressive.
They do. My son takes it. I've just planted. In fact, when we were due to chat last week, weren't we? And you phoned me, and I was actually planting what my son referred to as dead sticks. So I'm learning this kind of stuff. Yeah. The dahlias. So I've got a load of like tubers. Are they called?
That's it. Yeah.
Which apparently I think I read don't plant them yet. Is that right?
No. They'll stay in here till sort of probably May. Years ago, I remember my dad always used to keep the tubers in the airing cupboard when we were kids.
Right. So my wife will love that. But I'll tell her that you said.
Yeah, I'll just say Darren said it was all right.
Yeah. There's strawberries there. They're looking pretty.
Yeah, they're little alpine strawberries. So again, they're actually extra ones. We're trying to sort of keep them a little bit colder, just so they don't get aphids and things on them. But the idea is we're going to do a new strawberry bed. We've got some strawberry plants which we'll see later on.
Wow.
Up at the heated greenhouse, and then these will go at the front, and then we'll put a load more. We want to make strawberries our main theme through the kitchen garden this year, so that every table will have a pot of strawberries on there, so people can pick strawberries directly from the plant and eat them.
This is in the cookery school.
This is in the kitchen garden.
The kitchen garden. Right.
Because we figure that outdoor dining for us is going to be absolutely massive this year.
Absolutely.
And so that's the areas we're concentrating on. So strawberries going to be everywhere. So little alpine strawberries. Yeah.
I got about 6 plants, and that stresses me out. So it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, no, we potted the runners up the other day. So through the back here, this is our soft fruit nursery. So through here we have 2 patches of red, white and black currants. We have medlars, tayberries, and then the idea is that the bar staff actually use these more than anything. They come out and they pick the fruit in the mornings, and then they take them in and they use them as garnishes on all the drinks and things. So that's really nice.
Nice. And they're pretty engaged, and they're happy to come out.
Very much so. Yeah, we have an amazing F&B manager called Maurizio, who really has helped me get the whole foraging and picking process up and running.
And has that changed? I guess, again, that thing of you being here for so long, is there a lot more interest now in not just, I suppose, the estate management, but growing for the garnishes for the teams, and people seem to be more interested in the sort of locality of food and stuff, I suppose.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, the thing is as well, guests want to be involved as well, which is why we do so many garden tours and estate tours, because people want to see what you're doing and they want to see how things are grown. And, even if you can't grow enough to supply the whole hotel, what you can do is you can show them how it's grown, so you can take an idea and then they can do it in their garden. And I think that's really important. And the more people that do these things, it's like I just wrote an article the other day for a magazine on how to encourage bees and birds into your garden. And it's about sort of trying to show people how easy it is to change things, and to get these things into their garden, and then they'll do it, and then their neighbours will do it, and then gradually life changes for the better, doesn't it, really?
Yeah. So a couple of quick tips there then, because bees, I was interested, I interviewed a beekeeper, and I just think,
incredibly fascinating. I think I spent an hour and a half talking about bees, which I didn't think was possible. I'm not sure if anybody ever listened, but it was amazing. And one of the things he was saying is that actually, people think, we need bees, get more beehives, but actually the answer isn't, because honeybees are quite sort of aggressive in their sort of nectar acquisition, I suppose. And the answer is more, plant more flowers and support the kind of, the wild bees and the native bees. Is that your take on it?
Definitely.
And what should people do in their gardens to do that then?
So all our planting, we always plant single flowers, so they're always very open. Hence the reason I was saying about the dahlias. There's one called Moonfire, for instance, which is a very, very open dahlia, or Mystic Dreamer. Lots of cornflowers, lots of Verbena bonariensis, all plants that are very, very open, so the bee can get the pollen and nectar easy. And the other thing for us is trying to make sure there's a source of nectar all year round. So we've planted lots and lots of big dog roses in the boundaries. So again, a really open rows that the bee can get right into. So, last week when it was warm, we had the bees out flying in virtually every hive. So they need to find food. So even if it's just clover, in the paddocks, that's it. I mean, you're actually looking that little pond next to the greenhouse is actually our bee pond for the summer.
Right.
One lesson we learnt really early on when we started keeping the bees is bees drink a lot of water, and we have hot tubs around the hotel, so which is an ideal drinking solution for bees.
No way. Really?
So we had to make a bee drinking area for them, so they like very shallow water they can walk in, so they don't harass your guests. And
that made a difference.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, we took them all off site, and then we brought them back gradually, and then we made sure they knew where the water was.
No, how on earth do you educate a bee where it's got to get its water from? You've got this is your beekeeper who does that. You delegate.
Yeah,
that.
this is our beekeeper. Yeah, truthfully, people have knowledge that I don't.
And he had to take them away because they were hassling the guests. So take them away and then bring them back re-educated.
I mean, it wasn't a major issue, but it was just a learning curve. The problem is half the time people see a wasp and they think it's a bee.
Yeah,
so
my kids.
Yeah.
Darren's doing very well now, navigating a gate, a dog, a microphone. He's doing genius. I think I should at least try and close this one.
That's all right. Just leave the gate, Mark. We'll do that later. Okay. So, what we've got now is this another good sort of environmental project of ours. So, this gravel road that comes in, this was actually the construction track for the treehouse pathway. And the idea is we wanted to keep it in, but we wanted to improve it because this gives us an access to bring events in, sort of, back of house through the hotel.
Okay. So you built this road specifically for when you built the tree houses. And when you say tree houses, for people that don't know the Chewton Glen tree houses, these are. These are
big
not
tree houses.
Yeah, these are a pretty decadent sort of 3-bed, beautiful bathroom, but they are absolutely stunning.
So we've put 2,500 hawthorn plants either side, about sort of 5-6 years ago. We've now started to cut them. So the idea is these will create a really dense hedgerow. So the beauty of the hedgerow is it gives the birds some protection, so they'll nest in there. It also, gives the bees an excellent food source. It means that Jennifer's got something she can forage with the berries, so we make a mixed berry jelly which the berries go in. So all these things, we're trying to think of how we can improve the environment the whole time. And then just at the back here, so this is our heritage orchard. We're now at the back of it. Again, now this is getting quite mature. We always lead people through here when we do events on site. So just in the foreground there, you'll see like a little wooden hut. So that's our clay pigeon hut.
Okay.
And then behind that we've got our event field for motorised activities. So quad bikes, dune buggies, Land Rovers, they all go on out here. This field here, so this is just 4 acres of mown grass. And then the idea is we do falconry, archery out here, laser clay pigeon shooting, football pitches, sort of a variety of things.
And are these all activities that you run in-house, or is this an external sort of events company that comes in and does them?
So we have an event company that works exclusively for us, and then she sources all the events for us. We book everything through her. That way she manages everything for us.
Right.
It's the problem is it's with events is you need an awful lot of equipment.
Yeah, so I was just thinking. And that's open to just the hotel guests, or could other people come in?
No, hotel guests. And to be fair, things like the falconry are we generally have 2 bookings a day just for that alone.
Right.
Like I say, the sheep walking, we did 250 sheep walks just in the short period of time we were open last year.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
So
you keep a lot of people busy because you're not a massive. How many rooms? I'm trying to remember. Is it
70 bedrooms?
70
yeah.
bedrooms. Okay.
So it's not it's not massive, but the idea is it's all families. So it's no good bringing people here if you're not going to give them something to do.
No,
so
I hadn't appreciated quite how much you you do from an activity perspective. I guess.
So what
Jasper doesn't want to go that way.
No. Well, what we'll do is if we let him off the lead, he can have a run.
Okay.
And what we'll do is we'll head down and we'll go through the back of the tree houses, and we're going to see some more beehives and our Christmas tree nursery, and then we'll head up to the cookery school.
Perfect. Okay, where are we now, Darren? We've had a little stroll.
Okay, so this is our Christmas tree nursery at the back. So you see the tall Christmas trees. So
wow, they really are tall.
Yeah. So every year, anything that gets left by the guests gets planted here. The last couple of years, to be fair, we've actually planted along our boundary, but normally they get planted here, and then you just get left to grow. So the nice thing is we can thin a tree out occasionally, and then use it in the hotel.
How long have some of those look? I don't know what they are. 20
Some
foot
of them
maybe,
are about 10 years old. Yeah,
right,
some of them are about 10 years old. And then to the side, the little beehives on the pallets. So this is going to be the start of a queen rearing project for us.
Right. So this I think is awesome. So I've read that you can get queens sort of delivered in the post.
Absolutely.
How do you rear your own?
So these are, the queens that we normally buy come from sort of Holland and Belgium and the continent.
Yeah.
And the idea is they've got to be really calm. We need docile queens so we don't have angry colonies of bees. So what we're trying to do here is we're actually trying to breed our own queen bees.
Right.
In the little tiny nuke boxes.
Again,
and
I just think, who would know that a hotel's doing that? So go on then, how does it work?
The idea is, the reason we want to do that is because, it is expensive to keep bringing them in, and also there's an import cost, and so if we breed our own, then we know they're going to be calm, they know they're going to be docile. So Rob,
and it all comes from the queen. If the queen's docile, the
queen's
docile,
the whole hive is docile. Yeah.
That's
so,
awesome.
And it's the same as if the queen is really hard working, then the whole hive is really hard working. So it's trying to make sure that you've got the right queens in the right hives, and so hence the reason we're trying to breed our own. So this is the start of our queen rearing project. So by the time you come here at the end of the summer, this will all be completely full. I mean, at the moment there's probably 30 hives here.
Yeah.
There'll probably more like 70 here by the end of the summer, all full of sort of.
And you do something differently to breed a queen than you do from just managing a hive. Are we getting too technical now?
No, this is too technical.
This is where you bring in your
something
bee
I
man.
leave to the beekeeper.
Yeah. I was thinking this is probably going to take us down a one way.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, it looks like you get a box and you stick some bricks on it.
Yeah,
it looks pretty easy.
The boxes are here just literally to stop the hives blowing over. I mean, you'll see they're literally cable tied down at the moment because the wind has been so strong. So.
Right.
But the idea is we have bees in 3 sites on the hotel. So this is the like I say, this is where we raise the queens, and then like I say, this is our smallest apiary. But what we'll do is we'll take you up and we'll show you the biggest apiary. You can have a look at that, and then when we head up to the cookery school.
What's an apiary?
So an apiary is just a group of or a colony of bees.
Is it?
Yeah.
So I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I did 90 minutes on bees and never
weren't paying
remembered
attention.
that word. Blimey, I'm embarrassed. Okay.
So yeah, so that, like I say, literally last week when the weather was warmer, we had bees flying out of virtually every box. And I know Rob was saying the other day that because it's been so mild up until now, he literally has hardly had to feed the bees all winter. We don't take off all the honey in the winter. We leave them with some of their own honey so that they have their own honey to sustain them. And then, although we do have to feed them a little bit through the winter, we then don't have to feed them too much. We feed them sort of fondant and sugar paste.
Right.
So the idea is, we want the bees to be happy and healthy. We don't want to just pull every ounce of honey out of the hives.
Yeah, nice. Do it.
So what we'll do is we'll head over there, and then we'll
get
down that track. So we head that way.
Perfect. All right. The dog will follow us. He'll work it out.
He'll sort it out.
Whilst we're strolling down there, what you came here originally to do an apprenticeship. What was your motivation? Had you been thrown out of school, or had you always wanted to work in the land? Or?
No, I when I left school, I went to Sparsholt College for a couple of years, and school didn't really make a lot of sense to me, truthfully. I couldn't really understand it. It wasn't something that interested me. I didn't particularly understand it. Went to horticultural college, really enjoyed it, understood it, sort of clicked really. Did 2 years there, then came here as an apprentice gardener, and Then after a couple of months, I approached the managing director at the time, Robin Hudson.
Robin's been on the podcast actually.
That's it.
Yeah, okay, great.
And said, would he enable me to go back to college to do a much higher qualification, to do a national diploma in horticulture.
Was this decorative horticulture, did I read?
That's it, yeah.
What's the decorative element of that then?
So decorative is, or at the time, was anything that wasn't grown commercially. So it wasn't something that was grown like a cut flower, it was something that was grown outside in a park or a garden.
Right.
And he was brilliant, he was fully supportive, so he let me do my industry year here, so I stayed with him for 2.5 years. He agreed, he'd already had a job lined up for me when I came back, so I left for 9 months, came back as a gardener, and then the current head gardener there at the time struggled a little bit as the hotel was expanding, so I basically got more and more responsibility, took over as head gardener and then estate manager, and basically, you know, my role is just to try and grow the estate, make sure every ounce of the estate is used, and generally manage the land that surrounds Chewton Glen.
Right, and there was about sort of 15 years between, you know, head gardener and estate manager. That wasn't because you were waiting for someone to retire. That was a new role, basically.
Yeah, basically it was a role that was created for me. It actually started because we were struggling to get people to help us, and as we grew the estate a little bit, so the general manager at the time, Mark Bevan, approached me and said, look, you know, we'd like you to take on some more responsibility. It'll enable you to grow the estate more. And actually, it was a change of job title. It actually does. It means that people will talk to you more. It sounds ridiculous,
right. Yeah.
I know, but the difference is you probably going as a proprietor of your business.
It's true.
As opposed to a head chef.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, even though I always tell people that if they really want to be dealt with efficiently, they should speak to the general manager if they're trying to organise an event, rather than me as the owner.
Absolutely.
People want to speak to the owner.
Well,
even though they get not for long, they don't. About an hour later, they go, "Yeah, you're right. Let me speak to the GM."
No, absolutely. I mean, probably the best example for me was when we tried to do the Heritage Orchard. We approached the RHS and said, you know, we'd like help. Would you help us do this? And the first thing they said to me was, "You're not Raymond Blanc. We're not interested." So we were like, okay.
Wow. Okay. That's harsh.
And so we went off and we found our own way. But these things.
Have you gone back to them and said you've got 250 of the
No.
rarest trees in the country?
No, not at all. I mean, you know.
I'm going to tell them.
The way you treat people on the way up is the way they'll treat you on the way down. So it's never good to brag. But what I'm trying to say is it didn't make life easy, so that's that.
So we're walking, as we're chatting, we're walking past these incredible tree houses now, which I hadn't, to be fair, I interviewed Andrew Stembridge in one, but I think I just sort of had the VIP treatment. I think it was terrible weather and I'd been driven to one. I hadn't realised just how nestled into the forest they are, aren't they? They're in a dip almost as well, so they're really sort of fully camouflaged.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the ecology that went on around building these tree houses was no odds to anyone. It's you know, everything from, we had to move a badger set to bat boxes, nesting boxes, so every tree was numbered, it's all surveyed, so we now know exactly what it was. We deliberately wanted to keep all the big trees, so nothing that wasn't, you know, of importance was cleared to make way for the trees. Everything was done with the, you know, minimal impact in mind. And then actually what it did do is it set us off on the right way, because now it helped us get the ecology really moving. You know, bear in mind this was 3-4 years in the planning, so this is going back probably 10 years. We now every year have a tree consultant comes and he surveys every single tree on the estate for me, and we try and maintain as much dead wood actually on the tree as we can, so it creates habitats for the birds and things.
So sorry, did you say somebody surveys every tree?
Every tree.
What are they looking for?
Disease, dead wood, a tree that's possibly moving, and then he'll give me a list of what we need to be doing.
Wow. Okay, so when you say that tree moving thing, and I'm looking at a tree that must be 60 foot high, that's about eight foot away from a tree house.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want that moving, do you?
No, exactly. But the point being is, you know, even if it did move, if you think 15 years ago probably the insurance company would have just told me to take it off at the base and just not have the risk.
Right.
Whereas now, because they trust us and they know the way we work, they'll know that we'll literally take weight off accordingly of one side of the tree to make sure it's balanced in such a way
Brilliant.
that it's not going to fall on the tree house.
Okay.
So every tree on the estate Dave looks at for me.
That's amazing.
And,
so I've just read the book Overstory. Have you heard of that book?
No, I'm
it's
sorry.
No, don't worry. It's a book about trees. I don't think many people will. A bit like my 90-minute podcast on bees. It's quite a long book on trees.
Yeah, well, you didn't pay attention, did you?
No, exactly. So I just found it amazing that we've now sort of proven that the trees are all kind of communicating with each other through the sort of mycelium under the ground and the network and all the kind of the mushroom links and all that kind of stuff. I've got a newfound respect and love of trees, and recommend that book. Have a read. It's a fiction book, but it's based around trees.
Yeah, and as you'll see, underneath there's all some old Christmas trees as well. So these were last year's Christmas trees we put in here. So we also, in this area, we're trying to put more and more indigenous plants. So you'll see there's more beech trees. There's quite a lot of hazel, nuts and things. So again, we also plant some sycamores, which are like a weed tree, but because we have squirrels in this area, we use the sycamores as like a sacrificial tree. The squirrels will always go for those, so they'll damage the sycamores and leave all the nice big oak trees and beech trees and things alone.
Amazing. And this land, so these sort of tree houses, they've all got balconies that sort of are overlooking woods. How far does the estate sort of stretch in that direction?
So
it's very quite densely sort of foliage that way.
Yeah, that whole area, that whole valley is ours.
Right.
And then what we'll do is we're going to walk through that valley now, and then we'll head towards the cookery school. But we'll also have a look at another one of our bee colonies and things there as well.
Okay.
So we'll head down here. Now I think this bit here is the prettiest part of the estate. So this little pathway leading
not for
down.
Not much longer, Darren. We're going to walk through it. We're going to we're going to take the edge off
riff-raffs
that.
arrive.
Yeah, but you're right. You mentioned just now as well when we were on that road about the having that sort of access for event space. So you're quite famous for having big events. Chris Evans comes down and does his sort of children in need. You've got concerts. I think have you got Ollie Murs this year? I believe so. I think my wife and daughter are coming to an Ollie Murs gig.
Yeah,
how do you manage that? Do they have a big impact on on sort of the estate? I suppose I'm thinking like Glastonbury obviously can destroy a farm for a couple of years. How do you manage having that sort of influx of people, or is it pretty easy, or is it fun?
No, it's fun. I mean, the way you got to look at it is, they do damage, and there's always a bit of cleaning up to do afterwards. But if you don't have the events, we're not here to do all the nice stuff that go around it. So you sort of have to put up with these things a little bit. It's probably being selfish. I'd end up with an estate with just me on
just
here.
You, I was going to say. Well, actually, going after you, we've reached a bridge. My dog is going to love you because he loves water.
He's quite wet. You're going to have to.
You found a stream. Don't worry. He'll always find water.
So along this stream a few years ago, we started to clean all the banks up because we've actually spotted some kingfishers along here. So every year we clear a little bit more, a few more sections of bank. So the idea is the kingfishers can be left to do their own thing. So all you just see is a little dart of blue along there, and then the stream. This is actually the Hampshire-Dorset border, and this stream goes right out to the road either end. But by clearing a little bit of section each year, then we give the kingfishers some habitat.
Yeah, so talking about, ideally just having the place to yourself. Are you living to regret that? Because what's the impact been? Presumably in the 30 years you've been here, you've never seen anything like what we've had. This is the first time, I'm guessing, that the estate literally has been empty for a long period of time.
Yeah, it has. I mean, the first lockdown, it was, to be honest with you, we didn't really notice that much difference. Myself and the head gardener stayed on, and we just cut grass all day and just watered the plants. And truthfully, it wasn't a massive amount different. Other than the fact we just concentrated on a few target areas. We didn't worry too much about sort of kitchen gardens and produce and things. But this time, I think where the weather's been bad and it's been colder and that people are more miserable at home, they can't get out. I think this one really does seem to have dragged on a bit. I must admit, I'm really, really looking forward to sort of a bit of a green light as to when we can open up again.
Yeah.
And
all waiting for Boris's update. By the time this goes out, we might have a little bit more of an idea because we're a few weeks ahead, so we'll see. But
I mean, for me, you see, we only have a small team. There's 9 of us, but we're all very close. We're all very tight knit, and I employ quite a young team. We employ quite a lot of apprentices who bring, a really good energy to them, and you really miss them. It's it's not having that every day, and don't get me wrong. Drives you mad when the phone's ringing every 2 minutes and people are asking you questions all the time, but when you haven't got it, you really miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How have you been doing anything to try and keep the team engaged? Has it been?
Yeah.
How many's in your team?
So there's 9 of us in our team at the moment.
Right.
No, we have group chats and things which we talk all the time on. So, and every week I let them know what we're doing, what's coming up, what we're up to. So there's a constant dialogue. And plus, where the apprentices are still at college, we're still having to do reviews and things with them.
Right.
So yeah, it's really good.
Have you been able to do any stuff during this sort of closure period that you sort of you've hankered after doing for a long time, and actually you've sort of had the opportunity without customers around? Or?
No, to be honest, we haven't really. It's things like Christmas was a little bit different. Trying to pack that away, that's normally a mammoth task for sort of 10 people. So rather than put the decorations away straight away, we actually we boarded out a huge section of loft and made ourselves a bespoke Christmas tree store. So
oh really? Okay.
We've done a few jobs like that, but
yeah.
To be honest with us, we're just trying to tick over a little bit, waiting to open, because this time of year we'd normally be doing ditches and drains and those sorts of jobs, but with 2 of us it's just not possible at the moment.
Yeah.
So
okay. This is just a private house in the background there, is it? Or?
Yeah, it's a private house in the background in the corner of one of the fields, and then we also own up to that border there, at that boundary there.
Yep.
This here is another one of our apiaries. This is actually the biggest site.
Okay, so this is sort of 2 long hedgerows, and they're all sort of hidden in the middle. This is by design, is it?
So the idea was with the gorse, it's very dense, very sheltered. So we only had a little bit of gorse on the estate. So I asked a friend of mine, Kate, to see if she could propagate a huge number of gorse plants for me. So she propagated 350 gorse plants for me. We planted these 2 huge hedgerows, and then the idea is we've now put all beehives right through the middle, and then in the summer there's probably between 50 and 60 just through here, this section alone. And then it because it's sheltered, the sun can still get in here, but the wind won't damage them too much.
Yeah.
And obviously you can see more sheep up here
as
well.
I was going to say, have I lost my bearing? No, these aren't the same sheep we met earlier, are they?
So these are the sheep that are due in probably 3-4 weeks' time. So the sheep
I love the fact they've all. Sorry to interrupt. They've all come. So I don't know whether there are maybe 8 of them. Jasper,
oh.
And they've all come to meet the dog.
Yeah, the dog's decided he's a sheepdog now. So
he was super chilled. Luckily, he's noticed there's a fence, and he doesn't normally chase them. But they've all literally just legged it. Interesting. They all came to say hello. He does look a bit like a sheep in some ways, maybe. So
So these are the ewes that are due around Easter time. We've tried to spread it out so that there's young sheep for a long period of time. It's all about making sure there's a nice Instagram picture for people so they can take pictures.
They must
of
love that.
sheep
I'm just
all the
imagining, young families must just love being able to get
they do.
a picture with the lambs. So beautiful. And we're lucky, although it's cold. The sun's come out. It's beautiful, Darren.
No,
I'm glad
beautiful.
we moved this from last week when it was like
pouring with rain.
we were going to need an ark to get around the estate, weren't we? So
what we're going to do now is we're going to head up to our cookery school, and we'll try and show you a little bit what we do up there. So
perfect.
Like I say, this field's actually, for us, it's our best grass up here as well. And we normally cut this for hay, but now the sheep are here, we're probably going to turn this whole field into the area for the sheep. So they'll probably come away from the kitchen garden. They'll probably come all up here.
Right.
And then what we'll do is the kitchen garden will probably turn into more of a family-friendly area. We'll probably put like a teepee and stuff back up there, which we used to have years ago.
Yeah. Any plans to bring any other livestock? Or?
No, I mean, originally we wanted to do sort of Dexter cattle and that sort of things. But to be honest, the sheep have been so good, I think I wouldn't want to mix, sort of ruin a formula that works.
They are a particularly handsome breed. They were selected deliberately because they're good with families, were they? Or?
No. I mean, it's just so these were the sheep that Angie keeps. So these are coloured Rylands. So she used to have a sheep flock on 4 different sites. She's now down to 3 different sites, and then what she'll do is she'll gradually move her entire flock to the estate. So she'll just be based here solely. So
nice.
At the moment,
symbiotic kind of opportunity to join forces.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's at the moment there's probably 20 sheep on site. There'll probably be 40 by the end of the summer, and we'll probably stay around that. The estate's big enough to support that. And then the one beauty is, we can always make temporary paddocks if we need more grazing anywhere. So we've got enough land. So I think people would much rather see the sheep on the land than us charging back and forth with lawnmowers. So
No, I agree, 100%. Yeah. All right, do they end up on the menu? Sorry to ask.
The lambs, no plans for that at the moment. No, no
okay.
plans for that at the moment. So just the sheep walking at the moment.
Yeah.
So
nice. So you keep your chefs away.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Get away from that field. You're not.
Yeah, no. I mean, the nice thing is that the chefs have all bought into everything we do as well, and the project. So it's really nice. So yeah, there's no plans at the moment.
Perfect. Okay, where are we, Darren?
So we're in our Alitex greenhouse up here at the cookery school. So we use this greenhouse to normally grow herbs and the baby salads I was saying about for the cookery school. And then the idea is they come out of the cookery school, literally out of the door there, come and pick the produce fresh out of the greenhouse. However, at the moment, we've got some seedling little micro strawberries in there, which the idea is we want them to be a nice early crop. And then we've got all our strawberry runners potted up here. So you were saying you only had 6 strawberries, but I guarantee by the end of the summer you'll have 60 strawberry plants, so you don't need that many.
Yeah.
So,
and that's interesting. Sorry, but you've got them sat in water. They like that. They've got a bit of humidity and something to drink, do they?
So that, for me, I think the best way of growing in a greenhouse is to keep the top of the pot dry and just sit them in a very small amount of water, and then that way the roots always go down the pot looking for it.
Right.
But if you've got too much moisture at the top of the pot, you'll get disease and you'll get pests, and it's an unhealthy environment. Whereas if you've just got a very small amount of water at the bottom, the roots will go looking for it. It's like when we went in the big polytunnel earlier on. Those benches are called capillary benches. So again, they have a small amount of water at the bottom, but you only ever water the plants from the bottom. It makes the root go looking for it, so the pot always stays dry and the bottom is wet.
Who needs Monty Don? Is that the same for all plants pretty much, or are there some things that need watering from the top?
Yeah, some things need watering from the top and they need sort of humidity, but in general it's always better just to have the roots wet and then have the top dry. But you'll see this morning we've had the first bedding plant delivery, so we normally would have potted those up and put them in the polytunnel, but because it's due to be -6 tonight, we've left it in here where they'll sit. We've turned the temperature down to about 10 or 11 degrees. But the idea is of this greenhouse, when we built it, we designed it in such a way that we can do sort of little gin tasting sessions and things at night, and we can do just little events and things and little gatherings. So if people want something slightly different to the cookery school, we'll just open this greenhouse up.
Okay. And the cookery school, that isn't just aimed at people staying in the hotel. That's sort of its own entity now.
Absolutely. The idea is, we want people who are passing, and if they want a burger or they want, a pizza or they want a steak, if we've got room, we will always serve them. So hence the reason why if there's not a table available, we've always got bar stools on the counter. So it's our, we want to be as open as we possibly can. I think, don't get me wrong, I think 30 years ago there was probably an element of snobbery around the hotel, but I think now we try and be all things to all people. And I think, as you've probably seen this morning, you probably had no idea we did half the stuff we do.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's important for us to try and tell as many people, what we do, so the word gets out. And
So the cookery school isn't just a cookery school; it's open. You can eat in there as well. Basically.
Eat in there, yes. There's a 45 cover restaurant in there, and like I say, we'll do outdoor dining as well. The cookery school as well, and then I think we would like to sort of start doing beekeeping classes up here as well. So we'll do functions, slightly different events and things in there. So it's a really good place for us.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back for the beekeeping.
Yeah,
class,
no, definitely, yeah, because you obviously didn't pay attention to the first podcast. So this is Rob, yeah. So Rob is, again, I've sort of been working with Rob now for about 10 years. I tried for probably 18 months to find a beekeeper who shared the same vision as I did and what I wanted to do at Chewton Glen. And people wanted to keep 1 or 2 hives here. And I was trying to say, no, I don't want 1 or 2 hives. I want to do beekeeping on a big scale, but around guests. And I want people to understand why we're doing it and the importance of bees. And so I got introduced to this chap, and I explained my vision. And at the time, he only had 20 or 30 hives. And he said, well, actually, I want to retire in a few years, so I'm sort of gradually winding my work down. So that's basically what he's done. As his full-time employment has wound down, he's put more and more hives here. So now, like I say, we're up to 70 in the winter, and then we go up again in the summer if we need to, and then we're going to do the queen rearing and beekeeping classes. And it's all about for me, the estate is all about working with people who share the same passion with me. So it's Rob, so Jen who does the jams, Angie who does the sheep, Jane who does the events, and it's really nice because you have a little family of people who all share your vision and want to work and with you, and I think that's the important thing. I have trust in him and he has trust in me. So if I say to him this is what I'd like to do, he'll say look into it, explore it, and then we'll go from there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's been things that I've suggested over the years that have probably been a bit left field, but we've generally tried 99% of things and they've worked really well. So, and I think we have this theory here that we like to grow things organically. So we like to start a project on a small scale and then develop it as it goes on, rather than just go in and say, right, I want to keep 70 beehives at the beginning. We start with a few and then we grow on. And it's the same with everything we've done. We've always started it small and grown, and I think that way you learn from your mistakes as you go, and your mistakes tend to only be little ones. That way you can move the goalposts.
That's the exciting thing, I think, about staying somewhere so long, isn't it? Is that you can do that. Was there ever a sort of did you come close to leaving at any points in the past, or has this always felt like a life's work?
No. I mean, I've been offered some amazing jobs, and I generally get quite upset if I'm not probably offered a new job every couple of months by someone, because. But why would you? The grass is always greener on the other side, and I love it here, and I'm treated really well here, and I'm treated with respect. So why would I want to go anywhere else? And I think there's still so many more things I want to achieve here, and that I think it's I've certainly got a lot more things I want to do here, and I have no plans to leave here at all.
And the thing is with nature is that it's long term, isn't it? You can't nip in somewhere really and make a big difference, can you? Like when you talk about planting trees that have taken 10 years to grow to that height.
Yeah. I mean, a good example probably is the London planes just there. So we're looking just there at a big row of London plane trees. I planted those sort of when my granddad died, because I always remember when we used to go and visit him in London, there was always rows and rows of London plane trees along the road. So when he passed away about sort of 15 years ago, I put that sort of row of trees in because it always reminded me of him. So it's nice. So it's that sort of thing you're allowed to do. And so,
like I say, real custodianship for a period of time.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
What's a London plane tree? I've not heard of that.
A London plane tree is a big tree they used to have in London, and when we go past, you'll see the bark peeling off. So the more pollution in the air, the more the bark peels off. Oh, wow. So that's why the trees on the end of the road that are closest to the road, the bark peels more than the ones this end of the road where the air is clean. Yeah,
that's amazing.
And another, I guess, good example, we said about the custodianship, there's a row of poplars there. My first ever apprentice Dave, was probably like 20 odd years ago. I remember planting those with him, and I remember saying to him, you'll always drive past those and think, I planted those. Yeah. So, it is important, so it's good.
And talking of apprenticeships, do you think people are becoming more interested, less interested in sort of, the environment, I suppose, and
more, definitely.
Where stuff comes from here?
Yeah, definitely more. And for me, it's becoming easier to recruit apprentices as well, because, 10 years ago, the only thing that people leaving school, I think, really wanted is they wanted to earn £50,000 a year, they wanted a laptop, and they wanted to just sit there and be important. Whereas now people want to get stuck in, and they want jobs outside, and they want a different way of life. And I think the opportunities are there. And so, certainly for apprentices from our point of view means that we don't have to employ 16 to 18-year-olds. We can employ people of any age, people from a career change. And it's really nice. So we always get so much interest. Every time we have an apprenticeship come up, they're really sought after.
Yeah, reassuring to know, I think, isn't it, that... I think we all think there's an interest, more of an interest in certainly in the food side and where things are grown, in the environment. Clearly, we've got much more understanding now than we had. But I also worry that people are just, addicted to their Xboxes and Netflix and stuff. But if you're seeing a growth in people wanting to work outside, that's got to be a positive sign for the future, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, actually one thing lockdown has done is it's encouraged people outside more, because people have had to go out to exercise. And I do think, certainly... My wife and I, we live, really close to the New Forest, so we walk in the forest a lot. I've seen more people out this year than I've ever seen in the sort of 30, 40 years I've been sort of walking out in the forest. So, and even probably before that, when we used to go around with my mum and dad, it's never been as busy as it is now, which is nice. No,
it's great. Yeah, much as it's been a very painful time for lots of us, I do hope that we all slow down a bit and appreciate a little bit more when we come off the back of it. Yeah. I've just got to ask before we leave, because this is, we're in a greenhouse. What's your favourite crop to grow? Do you have something you particularly love growing? I hope it's strawberries this year, to be honest.
I think I do, really, to be honest. I get in... I get whims of things I like to do. I mean, strawberries are obviously the crop this year, but to be honest, I don't really have a favourite crop or plant particularly at all. I think I tend to just get immersed in whatever is growing at the time, really. So last week it was snowdrops, this week it'll be hellebores, next week it'll be bluebells. So I tend to flit.
That must be the lovely thing as well to just to really see the seasons and appreciate them, and I suppose the change. Again, I guess going back to that environmental question a little bit, but has it changed much in 30 years?
Oh yeah,
really?
Definitely.
What sort of things different?
So I think when I first started here, there was 4 definite seasons, and the winter was cold, and you had a very wet autumn. You had a very wet spring, a very cold winter, and a hot summer. Whereas now, much more rain in the summer than we've ever had. On the other hand, we also have periods of drought longer than we've ever had. And the winters, they're not cold particularly anymore. I mean, I know today is cold, but we've only really had this week. They're just wet all the time now, and it just rains continuously. So for us, that's something we're having to look at. I mean, some of the older trees on the estate are really struggling. Then they don't like this. They're used to 4 defined seasons. They've been here 200, 300 years. So, that they are struggling with, the constant wet rain right throughout the winter. And I think there's definitely been a change. And they say this is how climate change is going to affect us. That it's going to become milder and wetter for longer with sort of periods of drought in the summer. And I think it is becoming harder and harder to garden. And you're obviously losing the ability to, you're obviously trying to do it with less chemicals and less pesticides, and so things are becoming more and more challenged. But I guess that's the same with everything in life, isn't it? It's all about how you think your way around these problems all the time.
Does that motivate you then, sort of appreciating the change in environmental impact, to look at ways of, how can you make this place as environmentally conscious as possible?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm quite a stubborn person as well, so I sort of see it as a bit of a challenge, truthfully. So Mother Nature will not beat me. Although she always will.
Of reversing global climate change. Darren.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really big pumpkins.
No, I think it's just you can't beat what's thrown at you. You can only work with it, but it's having the foresight to change your plans and be adaptable, and if something's not working, to admit that it's not working and just say I made a mistake there and try something else. And I think if you always do that, you'll always get on okay.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, we must be nearing the end of our tour, and my dog is just kindly rolling in your bedding plants.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
If I put some little spikes on his feet, look, he'll fork that border over for us.
You. So okay, well we'll head out of the greenhouse.
So let's head back up to the forecourt now.
Perfect. So so we're in the woods now, Darren. Just tell me a little bit about what you're doing here to manage the trees.
So you'll notice behind us a big sort of trunk with the top missing of the tree, and several of the other trees around it are the same. So what we do now is, years ago we would have had to just fell a tree completely and remove the trunk, whereas now we take the top out of the tree, we leave the trunk to deteriorate over a number of years, and then by doing that as it rots off, it becomes a food source for insects. Those insects then feed the birds. And one of my major passions is trying to increase the songbird population of the hotel. So we build 60 new nesting boxes each year around the estate. They stay up for about 3 or 4 years each nesting box before they sort of rot off and fall to the ground. So there's always around 150 nesting boxes at all times around the estate. So this all sort of started with the songbirds about probably 20 years ago. It's quite a while ago. We used to have a painter here who'd worked for the RSPB, and he told me how to increase the bird population here. Simple steps like the way we manage the trees, the way we plant shrubs sort of close to bird boxes, so the birds can fly from one thing to another rather than just go straight in. And so it's been really beautiful the last few years to watch the population increase. I have the majority of the bird feeders are all around my office deliberately. So
yeah, lovely.
I love just sitting there and just watching the birds, sort of come and go, and it puts life in perspective. I always think.
Yeah, and it really does make a difference. Then the things you've done, you've really seen an increase.
Definitely.
You have to wonder where they were going before, weren't they?
Well, exactly. Yeah, and we have a guy comes and he works for Natural England, and he comes every couple of years and he surveys the bird population for us and tells us where we are and what we should be doing and how we can increase further. So for instance, we've got some long-tailed tits have started back this year. We've never had those on the estate before, so it's another new population of birds for us. So all these little things, they make such a difference over a period of time, and it's really nice for the guests to see as well.
Yeah, amazing, and great story to tell. And I love the fact you've got a surveyor for that. You've got a surveyor for trees, you've got a surveyor for birds. Any other obscure surveyors that come in?
Well, not I can think of. I probably think of. But the thing is, there's always people that will know more than you.
Definitely.
And I think it's always foolish to think you know everything about everything. You really don't. And so tap into people who really know what they're doing, listen to what they're saying, pick a little bit of information up from everyone, then you can go off and do your own thing. But that way, at least you're getting the best information you can. So rather than trying to sort of read a book or Google it, there's people with vast experience out there.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that's sort of the very point of me going around and having these conversations, is that I always say, there's somebody obsessed about every niche, every detail. And back along, I always wanted to brew our own beer and roast our own coffee and do everything ourselves. But actually, I've learned that people who obsess about their one thing just know so much more than you're ever going to know.
Yeah.
So let them do their thing. Is that a little insect hotel I spot
over
there?
So Bug Hotel. So this is down by our kids club. So kids club first of all. So this is our miniature tree house. So this was built for us for Chelsea Flower Show. So we took this to Chelsea Flower Show with Blue Forest, the people who made it, and we had the stand next to Kate's garden. So we had people coming in, going through, and this was great because we could then tell the story of how it came. It came here. So the idea is the kids can be up there, kids club, the big balcony, they can overlook the golf course, can play down here. So this is one project, and then opposite it we have the Bug Hotel. So again, this was an Andrew Stembridge idea. He basically said, I don't want a bug house. He said, I want a bug hotel. He said, I want the best bug hotel ever.
Yeah.
So we built this probably 5 or 6 years ago. We could probably do with a bit of a refurb now, but it was quite
is that
good.
Feedback from the guests, is it? They're saying?
No, it's probably me.
Is there a bug advisor?
Yeah, no, it's me looking at it thinking, well, actually we could do this more. But
well, you're going to be disappointed when I say, can you hold that so I can take a photo then?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the thing is with
this,
the nice thing is everything was salvaged from the estate. So the roof tiles are old tiles from the roof. All the clay pipes are old land drains out of the estate. All the wood out of that is from trees that have come down on the estate and we've kept. And then even the canes were old sweet pea canes that were cut down. So everything has been recycled.
Excellent.
From the hotel.
Okay, it looks pretty quiet there today. Have they got a pandemic going on as well, or are they all just tucked up because it's cold?
It's a bit cold.
Yeah. Okay. They've not told them that you're shut.
No.
Nature must be loving the opportunity. It's
funny
to.
I mean, you can see like the croquet lawn at the moment's taking a bit of abuse from the rooks and things where there's no guests around constantly running around. It's and we're not cutting it. But so this is our sort of bar area and croquet lawn area, and again, this is probably our most heavily used area of the hotel outside. This bar area is absolutely crammed all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty sad seeing all that. It's beautiful again, the sun's out, there's all those tables and chairs, there's flowers, it's beautifully kept, and there's nobody on it. And normally, even on a day like this, I imagine there'd be people out there having a nice cup of coffee.
It's used all the time. I mean, this croquet lawn, again, probably going back 20 years ago, was never used. It was beautiful and it was decorative and it was cut like a golf green, but it was never used. So, I mean, obviously, normally it's definitely not looking at its best now.
Still looks better than my lawn, then.
Yeah. But now the idea is we want people to run around on it. We want kids to come and play on it, because there's no point in having a beautiful lawn if it's never ever used. So we cut it slightly differently. We cut it slightly higher.
Okay.
We've changed the grass seed formation in there. We use a dwarf ryegrass now, so it's tougher. It will cope with the abuse.
Right.
So the whole thing is
the whole change from get off my land to get on my land and enjoy it.
Yeah, because it's stupid having this beautiful building if it's never used. So we want people to feel welcome.
Yeah, no, amazing, lovely. Is that the end of our tour then?
So that's the end of our tour. So I hope that's been informative.
Been fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much for sparing my time. Any other sort of big projects on the horizon? I suppose it seems that you do so much with your bringing your sheep in and building tree houses and all this kind of stuff. Anything on the horizon?
We've got some things that we're talking about at the moment, but they are literally far too early to talk about. And
Andrew will be proud of you for not giving it away.
I mean, we have a 10-year plan of what we would like to achieve on the estate, but we need to at the moment we need to get open. I think that's got to be the priority and get trading again.
I think you're right. You're pretty good on social media actually as well, aren't you? Unusually, I'm going to say for a. I was going to call you a gardener, but that might be slightly belittling. But where should people go if they want to follow you? And I suppose why your interest in Twitter particularly? I think, isn't it?
It's actually Instagram is my favourite. Okay. But I'm just at Darren Venables on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I just do a lot. I think for me it's important. I don't want to be the gardener that went grey and sort of went away. I want people to know who I am, what I'm doing, and I like the fact that when guests go away from here, they can still see what we're doing.
Yeah, it's nice.
And even now, we're closed, but we're trying to tell the tale of what we're doing so people can still see and engage. And this goes back to this inclusivity thing we were talking about.
Yeah, nice. No, well, it works very well. It's also very handy if you happen to be doing some research to interview someone on a podcast, Darren, because you just look through your social and go, okay, here's all the things he cares about. Birds and sweet peas. Yeah. They were definitely in there. Well, look, I will put links up as well on the show notes for this episode. But just, thanks for the tour. Really appreciate you being so generous with your time. And I've learnt a lot. And I will be back in the summer to sit on the terrace and have a beer.
Come round again. The end of the summer when we're fully open and everything's growing, and we'll do the tour again and let's see how it's changed. That's probably best, really, and then I can show you all the stuff growing for real as opposed to saying pretending would grow.
All right, we'll do it on video. Okay, thanks Darren, appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
So what do you think? Did you learn something new? Were you surprised by how much goes on at a country hotel that you may never realise? Are you inspired to plant a Christmas tree or grow an orchard or hang out with some bees? Yeah, probably not easy for most of us unless you happen to have a few spare acres kicking around. But you can at least chuck down a packet of summer wild seeds for less than £1 and create your own mini natural space of happiness. Now, as always, links through to the website and Darren's profile are all on the show notes that accompany this episode via humansofhospitality.co.uk. And that's also the place to get in touch with me for any recommended guests or ideas, or simply to tell me that you're listening. You can also sign up for the spam-free once-a-week newsletter, where I will send you an email every Monday lunchtime letting you know about that week's guests and popping useful links straight into your inbox to save you going off hunting. You can even make a financial donation to keep this podcast on the air via the website. Just hit the Patreon or PayPal button and follow your nose. And as I said at the start, don't forget that review. Okay, that's it for this week, but I'll be back next Monday morning with a brand new episode. Have a great week. Cheers.